In this series, we explore one of our favourite and most wondrous places on Earth, Patagonia. The first episode starts off with a crack, as we hike a glacier attached to one of the largest non-polar ice fields in the world, an absolute highlight of our entire trip.
Followed by 5 days trekking the world-famous W Trek.
We hike out to remote glacial carved landscapes and meet some of the local inhabitants in Chile's Torres del Paine National Park.
We encounter extreme Patagonian weather representing all 4 seasons, a normal occurrence in this extreme part of the world.
And uncover a natural beauty unparalleled elsewhere on Earth.
With great effort comes great rewards. Join us in one of the most amazing adventures in one of the most magical places on Earth, Patagonia, Southern Icefields, and the W Trek.
We continue from our previous adventure, cruising to Antarctica with the Celebrity Infinity, finishing up in the Argentine capital of Buenos Aires. If you haven't seen these episodes yet, check them out after this video. We fly to the west coast of the continent to begin the first part of our 3-month overland adventure, from Patagonia all the way to Lima and Peru. Okay, so we're on to the next part of our journey. We're here in El Calafate in Patagonia, and we have arrived in the evening. Now, we didn't really plan too well this part of our journey because we're doing the W Trek in a couple of days, and our mind was sort of there. We didn't really think about what exactly we wanted to do in El Calafate. I've actually been here before, back in 2016, and I did the mini trekking across the Perito Moreno Glacier, which is the main attraction here in the area. And Miranda wanted to really do that as well. She hadn't had a chance to do that before, so we decided we're going to go in and see if we could book anything. Now, every place we went to seemed to be booked up. It is the day before. We were kind of silly in doing this. And then there was one place that had 2 spots available on their big hike. Now, the difference is with the big glacier hike, you've got 7 full hours on the glacier as opposed to the 2 hours, and Miranda kind of convinced me to go with that. So it's going to be our warm-up for the W Trek, basically. So we're going to spend the whole day tomorrow on this massive glacier, exploring and looking around, and I think it's going to be a pretty awesome day. So we're here at the famous balconies in the Perito Moreno Glacier in the Los Glaciares National Park in Argentina. This is the largest national park in Argentina. We're going to check out the glacier first from above, and then we're going to go and explore that glacier up close and personal for the next 7 hours or so. So last time I was here back in 2016, they had a big giant ice bridge that collapsed soon after I came to visit. Now, the face of the glacier itself is constantly changing because glaciers essentially build up from the very, very top. The snow falls down and compacts onto the snow below, compresses it, turns it into this blue glacial ice, and then at the front of the glacier it is constantly carving off into these icebergs we see around us here. So this is one of the best places to see glacial carving because it's happening here constantly, and it's this cyclical nature that keeps it the way it is, and that's what keeps pushing it down to the front of the balcony. So it basically stays in this position even if the mass of the glacier is over time shrinking. But it's part of the Patagonian ice field, which I believe is the largest ice field outside of the poles. So it's an absolutely massive ice field. So the lake here is called Lago Argentino, which is the southernmost of the large lakes here, and the Argentine side of Patagonia reaches up to a depth of 700 meters in some places, which is actually not the deepest lake in Argentina. Okay, so we just got a boat across to the start of the trail. We've got Philip here from Germany.
Hi there.
From Deutschland. And we're about to do the big ice, big hike to the start of the glacier. Trekking right now on the moraine of the glacier, and this section that we're trekking on at the moment was actually part of the glacier 4 years ago. The oldest part of the moraine in the area was up here on this hill, and that was 30 years ago, the glacier. It's constantly changing. She actually said that this glacier is gaining mass, so over time you have snow falling down on those mountains, which apparently occurs nearly every day, and that's actually pushing the glacier down forward. So it's this cyclical nature that it lives in. It's constantly changing this landscape. This is the Calafate.
About an hour and a half after hiking via magnificent vistas high above, we made our way down to the remote section of the Perito Moreno Glacier. There we fitted spiked crampons to our shoes and spent roughly 3 hours exploring in depth some of these more remote areas of the glacier, witnessing sights that the average day tripper rarely gets to see. An absolute honor to be in the presence of such greatness.
So you can see these little fracture lines here in the glacier, and those fracture lines are due to the different rates at which the ice moves throughout the ice field. So on the glacier, the central part moves at 2 to 3 meters per day, whereas on the sides it can move only about 10 to 15 centimeters. So eventually these cracks and fractures, they turn into crevasses as they get eroded away over time through water and wind. You can see how how far this ice is actually moved by some of the large stones that are embedded in the actual rock itself. And the reason why we know it's moved far is because those rocks come from the Andes up there, where they're made of granite, whereas the sedimentary rock we have up here is completely different. So it's traveled all the way down from those mountains, probably over hundreds and hundreds of years.
After about an hour of glacial trekking, we stopped at the perfect pool to refill our bottles with pure ice-cold glacial water and have a short lunch break.
So we're about to do an advanced part of the trail where they don't normally take people, but we've got a really, really fit crew here. We need to keep our cameras away for this part, so I'm going to put this away in just a second because there's a lot of crevices and we need to keep our eyes open. Just behind those mountains there, which are the Andes. All of that humidity that comes off the ocean is forming into snow when it rises over the mountains, and that's why we have so much snow in this area here. So it takes about 10 years for the snow at the very top there to compress down into glacial ice. And the ice that we're currently walking on is about 400 years old. Our guide was just saying the bubbles coming out of the water were also captured by this glacial ice hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and it's just escaping now, which is kind of crazy to think about. You know, we're drinking water that's been sitting here for hundreds of years, just frozen up. That was such a great adventure. So the company is called Hielo y Aventura, which means ice and adventure, and they were completely professional. It was absolutely amazing.
The complete ban on smoking in the national park is a reminder of the fragility of this ecosystem. It has been experiencing a trend of drier and hotter than usual summers, which have fueled large wildfires.
Okay, so we've finished up our trip. We're going through the town of El Calafate, which is the central hub here. We're gonna find a cool place to stop and grab a bite to eat and a beer.
Oh my god, this is the typical right here, Patagonian typical. Con huevos. Oh my god. Enjoy. Enjoy, Chicky. And it's the worst tap I've ever used in my life. What do I do with this? I don't even push in. Just squeeze slowly, please. Miranda's new friend. It's replaced me.
Alright, so our last day here in El Calafate before we head across the border into Chile, and we're going, where are we?
We are going to Puerto Natales. We will only stay one night and then get up very early in the morning to start our big trek on the W trek in Torres del Paine.
It's 5 days of trekking, so we're about to grab some supplies. We've just had a lunch at a place called Pietro's, which we could highly recommend. Had the biggest steak I have ever had in my life. It cost me like 26 New Zealand dollars for that with some salads and some wine. It works out about $10 US for like the biggest steak. It was absolutely amazing, so food was really good there. Yeah, we're gonna go head down now to get some things sorted. Alright, Chicky, we're on a bus.
And we're going to Chile.
Yay! If anyone's curious, this is what the coaches look like. There's not many people in here at the moment, but they are actually really nice. Got USB chargers and everything.
After an overnight stay in the Chilean city of Puerto Natales, we awoke early to head to the nearby Torres del Paine National Park for a boat ride to the start of our trail.
We're on the W Trek! Okay, so we're at the start of the famous W Trek, one of the most popular multi-day walks in the world here in Southern Patagonia. It is a 5-day trek over 70 odd kilometers, so we'll be doing a lot of walking over the next few days. It is considered one of the most beautiful places on earth, which is why we had to book months in advance to get a spot here.
So we started off early this morning, woke up around 5:45 a.m. to catch a bus from Puerto Natales over to Pudeto, which took about 3 hours. And from there we took a catamaran over Lake Pehoy. That took about 30 minutes to get to Paine Grande, which is the Refugio we're actually staying at tomorrow night. Right now we're heading to Refugio Grey, where we're staying at tonight. We'll be hiking along Lago Grey in order to get there, about 11 kilometers, covering just under 500 meters elevation gain. Overall, should take us about 3.5 hours, hopefully.
Let's rock and roll.
The famous trek is named due to the W-shaped trail that weaves around and between the iconic granite towers, or torres in Spanish, the national park is named after.
So I've heard of 4 seasons in one day, but here in Patagonia it can be 4 seasons in 1 hour. Already this morning we've had rain, we've had hail, we've had sleet, we've had sunshine, which I'm not complaining about of course, but the only thing that's been consistent is the wind. And Torres del Paine in particular in Patagonia is infamous for the wind that it receives, and that's because we are on about the 50th degree latitude south, which means that if you were to head west off the coast here, the next land you'd reach is the east coast of South America. So all that wind travels pretty much throughout the world's oceans and reaches back around here, giving us the full brunt of it here at the southern end of the Andes Mountains. we've reached the highest point of the day, and in the distance we can see the Grey Glacier. It is absolutely massive. We're expecting a glacier, but maybe not that big. And the sunlight is just shining on it right now, so we're gonna go get some shots and head down to the Refugio Grey.
The word Paine is a native Tehuelche word for blue. Torres del Paine loosely translates to the Blue Towers.
So the sun has come out and it has revealed what has been hidden to us all day long. Look at this, absolute magic. These mountains are absolutely stunning. Waterfalls cascading off the sides, and even a light dusting of snow as well, just to sort of cap it off from earlier on today when we had that hail and snow come down. So it's just stunning. Looking forward to getting to Refugio Grey right now, which is just around the corner, and having a beer.
We made it to Refugio Grey! Oh, this is so exciting. It's been an amazing hike today, and we're staying in a hut which is much more luxurious than we're used to. It has hot showers, he can grab a beer, I can grab a hot chocolate or something, and it's going to be great.
So what do you think?
This is incredible. I was picturing something much different. I thought we were going to be like sharing a giant room with loads of people, but it's only 4 bunks.
Yeah, nice.
It's pretty, and the beds.
Soft pillows.
So this building here is Torres del Paine, and this is where we're going in a few days' time. So on our last day, this is Las Torres. Cheers.
So today we're heading back to Paine Grande where we were yesterday, so covering that same distance back. The winds are supposed to be very strong in the afternoon, about 56 kilometers per hour, gale force winds. So hopefully we'll make it back before then. And today is a very special day because it's Chileno's birthday! 37!
Years young. Don't look a day over 40. But yeah, so we're going to do a little bit of a hike beforehand. We're going to go up to the Grey Glacier, which when we looked on All Trails, the map, it had listed down as having a dope view from the suspension bridge on the map itself. So we're going to go up to that dope view and check it out, see the Grey Glacier from above. Should be a 3-hour round trip back here to Camping Grey, so where we stayed last night at the Refugio Grey. So we're going to come back here for lunch, and then hopefully we'll take off and get back before those winds kick in. We'll see. The forecasts here don't really mean anything, so it could be anything. This is the steepest suspension bridge I've ever seen. So we're gonna climb this ladder. That will take us over the first suspension bridge. Okay, so this is a pretty sketchy looking suspension bridge right here. Woo-hoo-hoo. Don't look down. Apparently there is a mirador, a lookout just past the suspension bridge, so we're going to stop there and get some great views of the glacier. Holy... How is it, Chicky? That is high. That is really high. Okay, cool. That was awesome. That mirador up here just past the second swing bridge. Highly recommend it. Great views for the Grey Glacier. We've got Lorenzo with us here from Italia, from Genoa. So he's going to be trekking with us for a little bit, and we'll be making our way back to the Refugio where we stayed last night, down at the Grey Refugio.
This is my birthday cake right here. So we've got some pizza. Usually take a photo beforehand, but I only just realized afterwards. But this is pretty luxurious here at the Refugio Grey.
So the guy at the restaurant there that took our orders before actually said we have to go back just a 15-minute walk to La Playa, the little beach section where there's a small turnoff for the kayakers. At the moment it is full of icebergs, so it's worth going and getting up close to all those icebergs that have broken off the Grey Glacier. So behind me here we have the Grey Glacier, and all of these icebergs have broken off that glacier. If you weren't aware, glaciers are essentially moving rivers of ice. So essentially snow compacts and accumulates right at the very top of the glacier, compresses down the snow beneath it. It takes about 10 years to compress down into this blue ice where it squeezes out the oxygen. The icebergs itself basically have chipped off the glacier, and they basically will melt in to become part of Lago Grey, which will eventually drain its way out of this basin. But the whole area here used to once be dominated by this glacier. In fact, all of Lago Grey on the other side that we hiked yesterday, that whole region during the last ice age was part of this huge glacial body, which is part of the southern icefield. In fact, this is the southernmost section. So the old saying, the tip of the iceberg, actually rings true. What we see on top of the water there is about 10% of the body of the icebergs, and some of those icebergs down there are absolutely huge. Now, they also have a tendency to flip and twist as well and spin. That's usually due to wind and rain and all sorts of natural occurrences. Back in 2016, I did a kayaking trip down here on Lago Grey from the opposite end. And the original plan was to come down and kayak among the icebergs down closer towards the glacier. But because we had such strong winds and rain, they essentially had to turn us around before we even got a chance to get anywhere near the glacier due to that risk of those icebergs rolling over.
With birdwatching always a priority, we spotted a Magellanic woodpecker or Carpintero negro in the trees. Afterwards, we saw several Andean condors soaring above and roosting in the high cliffs. With a wingspan of up to 3.3 meters or 10 feet, it is the largest flying bird in the world.
So we're at the highest point of the day, which puts us just past halfway back to Paine Grande, the refugio that we are staying at tonight. You can see here some of the mountains that we couldn't see yesterday. And it kind of gives you a bit of an indication of how high the glacial ice field was during the last ice age, where you see these rounded tops of the mountains that have been ground out by the glacial movement, and the sharp peaks just above them that would have stood just above the top of the glacier shelf itself. So this whole area here would have been covered in that glacial mass, which is now just glacial grey. And the lake itself, who knows how deep that goes, but that would have been carved out by the glacial movement. You can see up here on this mountain the shapes that have been formed by the movement of the two tectonic plates coming together, which is essentially how the Andes and most mountain chains in the world are actually formed. Estamos aquí, la chiquita. Here we are, Paine Grande, Refugio Paine Grande. It's where we're staying tonight. Massive, it sounds like they're having a party there. All right, Chicky, Refugio review.
So far, it looks amazing.
Another nice room?
Yeah, absolutely, and we've even got some views.
If you can get through all the fog. So we have the Chicky here with the morning report. What's going on today, Chicky?
Started bright and early to Camp Francis. Making these points. It should be a 24-kilometer day, including 1,400 meters of elevation, or just under 1,000 meters actually. And yeah, so it'll be a long one, that's for sure. But we're going to the Mirador Britannico, which is one of the highlights of this trek.
Cool.
Very nice viewpoint.
Yeah, so we're looking at about 10 hours today. We think it's a massive day, our biggest day on the trail. And we're going to stop at a little place along the way called Campamento Italiano. So the Italian camp. We're going to leave our big backpacks, just take a small pack with us for that Mirador Britannico, that lookout point in the Frances Valley. This is a what to expect weather-wise here in Patagonia. Yes, that is sleet, so it is snowing. We can tick that off the list for today. Let's see what other seasons we get. So we're arriving right now into Campamento Italiano. We're going to stop here for un caffè italiano, and then we'll leave our bags here at the Campamento and make our way up into the Frances Valley, where we'll climb all the way up to Britannico, the Mirador, the viewpoint at the top of the valley. So unfortunately no coffee at Cammento Italiano, but we were able to put on some layers, leave our bags behind, and now we're heading up into the Vallée Française, which is the French valley. So this is where we start to really get up to some elevation. Still snowing, but at least we've got the extra layers and some gloves. Nice and beautiful in the background there. And then this is where we're going. You can see the Glacier Française just up there. Okay, so we are well and truly into the Vallée Française, the French valley. Lovely attire. I actually haven't seen it until now in the video. Kind of looks nice, doesn't it? Blue suits me. Anyway, so the forest that we're going through right now is this low-lying sort of shrub forest known as Magellanic forest. A whole bunch of different types of animals live here in this ecosystem specifically. Yesterday we saw this one here, the Carpintero Negro, which is the woodpecker, or the black woodpecker. We are keeping an eye out today for some different species, but I'm going to get Miranda to keep an eye out in particular for one species. That is the puma. If you don't know what a puma is, it is the South American mountain lion or a cougar. I've never actually seen a mountain lion or a cougar, so I am excited to see one. However, that doesn't mean that one hasn't seen me, because generally they say if you see one, it's been watching you for quite some time. They are ambush predators and they're opportunists as well, so they are the apex predator in this area, although they are threatened, so it's unlikely that we're going to see one today, but always keeping our eyes out for wildlife. All right, Chicky, this is the way we're gonna go. Right up there. Will stop. We're almost at the top of the Française Valley right now, and we're going through this sort of little shrubland of these tiny little trees, almost look like bonsais. So beautiful. In the background there, we've got the Glacier Française. We're going to get up to the top of the valley and assess whether or not we want to continue all the way up to the viewpoint, the Mirador Britannico, because technically we're about halfway up the valley, and right now the visibility up there is absolutely zero, and this snow only seems to be getting heavier, so we'll most likely just get up to the top of the valley and potentially turn back. It is actually a really long day today anyway, so shortening it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. That's what you call it, Chicky.
Yeah, it looks like we're heading into a bit of a blizzard, so
Done that before.
probably not the best.
Yeah, I've hiked into blizzards before. I've actually gotten lost in a blizzard before. It is a really scary experience. Don't really want to go through it right now. Not that necessarily that's what we're going to do, because there's plenty of people on the trail and it's a clearly marked trail, but you never know, the snow could get stronger. We're not going to see anything up there anyway, unfortunately. We've got some nice views here though of the Glacier Française. Now, if you have a look up the top there of the glacier, you can actually see that it's a hanging glacier separate to the bottom part, which is the Valley Glacier. All the maps that I've looked at have actually shown this as one glacier mass. In fact, it has the one singular name, and that's because it's only in probably recent years that the two parts of the glacier have separated. But you can see here how the glacier works its way around the valley and carves out the valley in a shape known as a cirque. So that's what we have down there. Beautiful though to see the two different parts. Also, we've heard tons of avalanches crashing around here. It's probably because of all this snowfall up on the top of the mountains. Haven't seen any, but can definitely hear them like thunder. So we've arrived at the Campamento Francés, and this is our beautiful accommodation for tonight. Not quite the luxury we've been spoilt with the last few nights, but it's pretty cool, and I kind of like camping, so I'm looking forward to being in the outdoors, listening to the sounds of nature at night. Hopefully we're warm enough, that's the main thing. Okay, so we chose the windiest night and coldest night to go camping here in the national park. But we've had hot showers now, and we're safe in our tent. And here's Chicky with the morning report.
So today is looking like it's going to be a bit of a rainy one, and we have 16.5 kilometers to go today to get to El Chileno Refugio, where we'll be staying for the night. And it's about just under 1,000 meters elevation gain, so it should take us about 6.5 hours possibly.
Cool. I'm going to stop for lunch at
Los Cuernos. Refugio.
So we found ourselves a nice little beach down here. Miranda said she wants to go for a swim.
No way.
No way. It's actually not as bad as yesterday. It's nowhere near as cold as yesterday. We got all our rain gear on thinking it was going to continue to rain this morning, and it stopped like 10 minutes after we left the camp. So when we get into Los Cuernos, we're going to derobe, have some lunch, and then continue our journey to El Chileno.
We've just had lunch at the lovely Los Cuernos Refugio, and now we're heading 13.5 kilometers to El Chileno, where we're staying tonight.
Cool, let's do it. Okay, so behind us here we have Lake Nordenskjold. I'm guessing is a Norwegian name. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And behind us here we have Bueno Principal. So that's the big, giant rock massive in our background there. So we just saw two giant Andean condors just over our heads, maybe about 10-15 meters above our heads. Absolutely amazing. And look at this, wearing a t-shirt. Yesterday that would have been unthinkable with the cold and the snow that we had, but nice and sunny today. So it just shows how fickle the weather can be here in Patagonia. So we got Stefan and Lorenzo here, representing Italia. We met these guys on the trail, they're pretty cool dudes when they give us back our forks. Look at that view, guys. That is magic. So today has been absolutely perfect. As you can see with the weather, it's been amazing. Been making really good timing as well. It's about 3:30 at the moment, and we're only an hour away from our Refugio El Chileno. What's the plan tonight, Chicky?
So we're going to have a dinner at El Chileno and then pretty much go straight to bed because we have to wake up at 4:30 a.m. to catch the sunrise at the Torres.
I came here back in 2016 and did a day hike up to Las Torres, where we're going tomorrow morning. All I could see was a lake. I sat up there for about 40 minutes in the cold, wet rain, and the fog was just sitting so low that we couldn't even see any of the towers that it is named after. So really looking forward to a spectacular morning. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. I don't want to jinx us, but hopefully it makes up for the crazy weather we had yesterday.
Salud, guys. Last night of the W Trek. We have Ed and Laima here from Lithuania. Salud. It's about 5 a.m. and we've realised that our headlamps have run out of battery, so we can only use the emergency red light. I've taken my camping light instead to lead the way. Through the darkness and ambient dawn glow, we catch a glimpse of the high granite peaks that form Las Torres.
We made it to the Torres. It looks like we saved the best for last and had a gorgeous sunrise this morning. We woke up bright and early at 4:30 a.m. in order to hike all the way up here in time for sunrise. So yeah, it was well worth it.
And one of the beautiful things about it is there aren't many people here at this hour. We've got a few people around us now, but when we first got here, we sat here for 45 minutes on our own down in this beautiful little spot. Absolutely stunning. So we're going to make our way back down to the Refugio now, recollect our bags, and continue our journey out, finishing the W Trek. So that was Las Torres, the towers, and we kind of saved the best for last, or at least the highlight of the W Trek for very, very last. It has become really popular in recent years. In fact, within the last half hour or so, I would say we've passed hundreds, literally hundreds of people coming up here just to see the towers, Las Torres. It's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing that people are getting out and enjoying nature, and this has become a really popular trend around the world, especially since COVID. People, I think, really started to realize how beautiful the natural world is. But at the same time, a lot of these places are becoming really overrun, and this is a prime example of that. It's getting to a point now where I think we need to start looking at designating more protective spaces for people to be able to get around and share those spaces together, rather than overrunning very, very few places that we do have. We made it!
So we've just finished the W Trek, which is approximately 70 kilometers over the course of 5 days.
Now we're kind of back in civilization, so we're going to sit down, have a beer, wait for some of the others to come back down, and maybe grab some lunch.
The beauty, remoteness, and physical challenge of the park has been captivating tourists since the late 19th century when Lady Florence Dixie described the towers as Cleopatra's Needles.
After completing the trek, we caught a shuttle to Lago Amarga, where we awaited our coach back to Puerto Natales, accompanied by a herd of guanacos, wild relatives of the domesticated llama.
Join us in our next Patagonian episode as we begin our 3,700 kilometer campervan road trip from the bottom of the continent to Santiago in Chile. An adventure spanning 2 countries, taking in the most amazing and remote places in between.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed our content, please like and subscribe.
And we'd love if you could leave us a comment letting us know what you've enjoyed or what you'd like to see more of.
And help us grow our channel. Become part of the Global Travel Stories family by sharing with friends, family, or anyone you think would enjoy our content. Thanks, guys.